Let me tell you about ProHealthConnect.com. It's transforming healthcare payments, providing retailers a seamless process for over-the-counter and healthy benefit programs. By connecting retailers, health plans, and payment processors, ProHealth Connect creates one powerful, unified network. They empower independent grocers and pharmacies to accept health benefit cards without changing how they do business. With over 10,000 locations nationwide, helping more than 1.3 million people access the care and nutrition they need. Go to ProHealthConnect.com.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
On the old man's money, you can rely on the old man's money. It's a bitch, girl, but it's gone too far, 'cause you know it don't matter anyway. Say money won't get you too far, get you too far.
I love this song so much.
That is wrong. To take what is given you so far gone on your own. But you can get along. You can try to be strong, but you'll never be strong. 'Cause you're a rich girl.
Well, it's an oldie too at this point. This song came out in 1977. I remember it on the radio, and we were all fascinated. Did he just say the B word? Anyway, there's a timelessness to this song, and it sounds like victory. The words are very, not nice about some spoiled brat, but to me it sounds like victory. Man, Hall & Oates. Great guys, I think, I hope. I met John Oates once, super duper dude. I hear Daryl is a little bit of a cold fish. Who knows? Who knows? Who can say? But I can tell you that my daughter, Annalise, is also fond of this song. She says, play it all the time. She wants to hear it on my iPhone. And she knows the words a little bit. I just found her singing it to herself. All right, I think we got it. Go ahead.
Dad.
Sing it for me.
So I really want Big Girls Don't Cry.
What song do you want to hear?
I want Big Girls Don't Cry.
Who sings that?
I don't know.
What do you like about that song?
Silly girl, silly boy.
All right. Do you like to dance to it?
Yes.
Okay. What else do you like to do?
Nothing else.
Oh.
I do like to do something.
You what?
You know what I like to do?
What?
Art.
Who?
I'm an artist, see? I draw something.
Oh, that's nice.
Mom draws better.
I know.
She's an artist.
All right, kids, start singing the song.
But you're learning.
I already know how.
I know, but you're drawing even better and better. You're getting better. Does that make sense?
Huh?
Okay. How does that song go again? Sing it.
Which one?
Rich Girl.
Rich girl, 'cause you gone too far. You can turn on it. You can rely on the old man's money. You can rely on the old man's money. Rich girl, 'cause you gone too far.
I think it's adorable.
Don't matter anyway. You can rely on the old man's money.
All right. Now, maybe it's a negative message for a 6-year-old to be consuming, but she just loves the song. I know it sounds like I prompted her, but the song is on. She asks for it, and she does sing along. And then I think, oh, this would be great to have on my tape recorder, and then she's already on to the next song. So that's the way it goes sometimes, and that's okay. Hey, the Strait of Hormuz, is it our problem? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We can't just blow it off. I want to go back, all right? This is the Q&A part. Kane, this chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Hegseth. I believe that President Trump has a plan here. He wants us not to be hanging around this Strait of Hormuz or the Persian Gulf or Iran for all that long. But I will point out, throughout his entire career, he has expressed a frustration about American military operations in the Middle East that fail to seize the oil. This is a compendium of Trump remarks going back about 15 years. All right. If you do military in the Middle East, don't leave without the oil. Cut 2, please. President Trump.
When I heard that we were first going into Iraq, some very smart people told me, well, we're actually going for the oil. And I said, all right, I get that. There's nothing else. I get it. We didn't take the oil because they took the oil that when we left Iraq, I said we should have taken. So now ISIS has the oil. 4 years ago, I said bomb the oil and take the oil. And if we did that, they wouldn't have the wealth they have right now. Well, we should have kept the oil when we got out. And, it's very interesting. Had we taken the oil, you wouldn't have ISIS. The old expression, to the victor belong the spoils. You remember I always used to say, keep the oil.
How about that one? And we are, we're the victor here. Does he have this in mind? It's in the back of his mind, and maybe it's in the front of his mind. Now, here's what could happen. So China wants oil and needs oil from the Persian Gulf. We do not. We got all the oil we need right here at home. Other countries depend on this oil, not us. This is a way we can exert greater leverage over, our friends and enemies and adversaries and rivals. If we were to choke off China's oil supply from the Persian Gulf, if we were to seize Karg Island and the rest and start controlling Iranian oil, China would be, beholden to us, right? That would totally freak them out because sooner or later, it's almost understood that China is going to take Taiwan. And if they take Taiwan, they take artificial intelligence. All of the chips for artificial intelligence, 99% of them come from Taiwan. And if that falls into China's hands, we are screwed. So what's a way to keep them from doing that? What are our options to keep them from doing it? We don't want to defend Taiwan. We can't get involved in that over there. We don't. No, sir. No, sir. So what do? Well, hey, how about this? We won't let you have the oil if you mess with Taiwan. That is one way we could exert influence that I fear we don't really have right now. What do we think about that? I think that's a very strong possibility. All right. I would like to, if you don't mind, go back to the press conference at the Pentagon a little while ago, Dan Kane and Hegseth, and now the questions start coming in. So far, I was not impressed. They did a lot of rah-rah, America rules, we're awesome, right? Oh, let's give it up for this 102-year-old guy who died 2 years ago, an old-timey vet from World War II. I know all that stuff. Tell me what's really going on. Don't screw with me and don't treat me like I'm in the 4th grade on some field trip to Washington. Go ahead.
United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought to pay attention to be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on. As far as Russia and China, we know exactly what they're doing, what they are or are not doing. We don't have to air publicly what all of that is, but where necessary, we're addressing it, we're mitigating it, or we're confronting it head on. I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, sir. I think you covered it.
Do you have any timeline for operability in the strait?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David Zier, Real America's Voice. And I witnessed that enthusiasm on the lines and our submarine builders and the ironworks. It's unbelievable. But I just wanted to ask you, what's the status of the delivery of any hardened bunkers for additional protection for our troops? And without getting too specific, what kind of measures are we taking to protect some of the larger, more strategic aircraft like the Sentry and other?
Well, it's a great question. I'll say what I witnessed where I went was a
Hey, let me just jump in. All right, that seemed like a pretty milquetoast question. I want to. Everyone's talking about this. Should I talk about it? I'm conflicted about it a little bit, but here it goes. Okay, because it's all over the place, and I have to process this. Some information is coming out about Kristi Noem's husband. Kristi Noem, right? Now, they're saying private things about Kristi Noem's husband. His sexuality is being reported, and his sexual preferences and fetishes, all right? Look, everybody has a fetish, right? Everybody has a fetish. Carlos, why are you looking at me? You've got a fetish. You got a fetish. Everybody's got a fetish. It doesn't mean you're a pervert. I mean, yeah, well, maybe you don't have a fetish. Who the hell am I to say? He's got a couple of fetishes. The stuff that he's into, reportedly, allegedly, are totally legal. All right? No one's accusing him of fooling around with kids or anything stupid like that or anything criminal and sick and depraved like that. He's got some other little things he likes to get into. Women's clothes. Now, part of me is like, damn, this is the husband of a politician. The politician, like, what difference does that make? What difference does it make? What difference does it make? Well, these things have ramifications, okay? So if this is all true, what did Kristi Noem do? Now, they didn't get divorced, right? But apparently they had an arrangement where Kristi could do whatever the hell she wanted to do, and this guy would do stuff he wants to do, will stay married for appearances purposes, I don't know what. So Kristi Noem starts hooking up with Corey Lewandowski, who's a bit of a maniac and really should not be around power. And this is now all blown up. And there are pictures all over the place of this guy, is it true? Is it real? I don't know. And you know what? I feel a lot less sympathy for this guy named Scott Noem, than there was for, say, somebody like Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner was able to come out, when and how, and exactly in the manner, that she was comfortable, right? Nobody outed. It wasn't outed. It was a Diane Sawyer sit down, super duper spectacular. And now the husband of Kristi Noem is being made to feel like a deviant. How dare he? Blah, 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 blah. And I don't like it. I don't like it. You know what? With Bruce, it was a little bit different. Bruce, super duper mega superstar, right? Super duper mega superstar. One of the most famous people who ever lived. The greatest athlete who ever lived for a time. And now he's going through, and so, like, that's different. And he has publicists and this and that, and this is just a guy. He's just a guy with a couple of, preferences. And here I am looking at his gosh damn text messages and dirty pictures. Does that feel right? No, it feels actually kind of gross. It feels unfair. It feels like America is a very unforgiving, weirdo country in so many ways. Our culture is broken. Our culture is broken. Our politics are broken. Our morals are broken. Our bodies are broken. And we need to fix it all, and we can. I don't want to look at this stuff. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to. Now then, I just don't know. What's the takeaway? What's the takeaway? The takeaway for me, is that depraved sexual stuff is sooner or later going to get you in trouble. Right? And basically, sex is for procreation, not for recreation. And pretty much when you use it for recreation and killing the time and, boredom or whatever, and acting out your deepest, darkest, weirdest, strangest thing, what comes of it? What really comes of it? How can you profit? How can anyone else profit, benefit? You can't. You can't. You blow off steam, release. I don't know. I think it's got to be controlled. It's got to be controlled. Hey, I speak from experience, okay? You got to control this stuff. And who am I talking to? I'm talking to me in a way, but I obviously am not the only one. You got the teachers out of control. You got girls gone wild and campuses all over the place. It's, and then we have these online temptations that are just nearly irresistible. Thanks a lot, Steve Jobs. So it's tough, and it's also unnatural. All of this stuff is unnatural. We weren't meant to live this way. We weren't meant to be stimulated this way. I think it's one of the reasons why we plateaued in so many ways. We're going back to the moon tomorrow. Fantastic. 54 years later, finally. So experts do say that this flu season is the worst we've seen in 25 years, and either way, you know how this goes. Every year someone in my family gets sick, then everyone gets sick, and suddenly you're fighting to see a doctor or stuck waiting in a crowded urgent care. But this year I am ready. I ordered a medical emergency kit, and it's been a lifesaver. My kit is stocked with essential prescription medications, antibiotics like a generic Z-Pak to help you recover faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, and ear infections, prescriptions for nausea, UTIs, and they have ivermectin in there. It is simple. Match your symptoms in the guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Start treatment early and feel better faster. No waiting rooms, no pharmacy lines. I love my medical emergency kit. You should get one too. And I got you $45 off when you use my code GREG, G-R-E-G. Just go to urgentcarekit.com/Greg. urgentcarekit.com/Greg, and that promo code GREG, Greg.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, your new foundation. Use PDF spaces to generate a presentation. Grab your docs, your permits, your moves. AI levels up your pitch, gets it in a groove. Choose a template with your timeless cool. Come on now, let's flex those tools. Draft, design, deliver, make it sing. AI builds the deck so you can build that thing. Do that, do that, do that with Acrobat.
Learn more at adobe.com/do-that-with-Acrobat.
Greg Kelly on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, everybody is talking about the Strait of Hormuz. This individual's take looks like a German journalist down at a No Kings protest. He's actually, I forgot his name, McClune? Lionel. His name is Lionel, not the Lionel here at night, but the other Lionel. It's very funny. Listen to this conversation. He does this over the top. He's like Borat, all right? Just listen to this. He's faking it, but she's not. Cut 21.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the Straits of Hormuz and not the gates of Hormuz?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gates of Hormuz behind?
I think it's just historically, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're going to go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right,
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to the gates of Hormuz, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
For sure. Fire Island being a beach community on Long Island that is very popular with the LGBT queer community. It is what it is. All right. What's that guy's name? Lionel McClune. Very funny stuff. All right. There is the music. We shall return. The countdown to Artemis 2. 24. We're at 27 hours before that rocket ship goes to the moon. A glorious time to be alive.
TaxAct knows every small business owner has different tax filing needs. With TaxAct, you can file yourself with the help of an expert, or TaxAct can do it all for you. You're the boss, the head honcho, the top banana. And TaxAct is like your loyal, trusty tax aide, ready to pounce on any tax needs you might have. TaxAct is dying to pounce on some small business tax needs. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I wonder how qualified conservative black women feel about Ketanji Brown Jackson, the Supreme Court Justice, because there are numerous conservative female judges who happen to be black, but they were overlooked, right? Or even liberals, quite frankly, who were liberal and lawyers and qualified for the Supreme Court, but they were looked over because when you make it all about race, as Joe Biden did when he announced as a promise to the people in South Carolina and that crazy congressman who runs a show down there, that he would appoint, he'd not only make his VP a black woman, but his first Supreme Court nominee would be a black woman. When you make it all about that, you have blinders on. You can see nothing but race. You can see nothing but gender. And Ketanji Brown Jackson was the very first person they found. She's on the Supreme Court now, and, you know, putting it mildly, she's an embarrassment, okay? And the others can't conceal their contempt for this person. She doesn't have the intellectual furniture to be in that spot. And she gets flustered at the most basic things. So she just ruled, she was the minority opinion. She says that gay conversion therapy in Colorado must go away. Now, it's a freedom of speech issue, really. But listen to Ketanji Brown Jackson. This is not a bright person. You know, the whole thing about what is a man? What is a woman? Remember that great documentary from Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? All right, here we go. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Imagine going to all those schools for all those years, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and the rest. And this is what you sound like. Yes, no? Yes, no, maybe? All righty. Carlos. Ketanji Brown Jackson had a very hard time differentiating between a man and a woman. This happened during arguments in the case. Colorado has decided, or did decide, no more gay conversion therapy. Now, gay conversion therapy sounds a little bit oddball to me, right? It's, you know, it's a little bit odd, but so what? You're allowed to be odd in America. Go ahead.
You have the overarching classification, you know, everybody has to be, play on the team that is the same as their sex at birth. But then you have a gender identity definition that is operating within that, meaning a distinction, meaning that, for, cisgender girls, they can play consistent with their gender identity. For transgender girls, they can't.
So I think that, okay, so as to the part about your ability to pass over from boy to girl,
yes,
you can go from one way but not the other. I want to be clear that BPJ is not challenging that specific classification. I think that's important to start with. But I think, if anything, that's useful evidence as to the lack of a transgender-based discrimination, because if the legislature were just sort of unsettled by the notion of transgender athletes, I think the answer would have been to then bar them from passing over anyone consistent with their gender.
I appreciate that. I guess I was getting at the what I understood the Chief Justice to be trying to discuss, which was this notion that this is really just about the definition of who we accept that you can separate boys and girls, and we are now looking at the definition of a girl, and we're saying only people who were girl assigned at birth qualify.
And
what the hell? All right, so last year, from Mr. Theo, Justice Jackson dissented in the U.S. versus Scrimetti decision, in which she argued that states had no right to ban gender transitions on minors. The state cannot do that. But today, she was the lone dissent in another case, Childs versus Salazar, writing that there is no right to practice medicine which is not subordinate to the power of states. So states have no right to pass laws banning children from changing their sex. But states do have the right to ban counselors from telling boys they are not girls. How in the hell did we get here? Justice Jackson, there is no right to practice medicine which is not subordinate to the police power of the state. She says this was true 100 years ago, and it should be true today. Many states now have chosen to exercise their police powers to ban conversion therapy based on the medical profession's broad consensus that this medical treatment, which seeks to change a gay or transgender person's sexual orientation or gender identity, is ineffective and harmful. It's a freedom of speech issue, all right? There's no surgery involved. If I want to extol the virtues of heterosexual relationships and sex, and do that in the hope that someone who happens to be gay changes their mind about that, well, number one, that's probably not going to work. But number two, that should be my right. And that should be the gay person's right to hear it if they want. Don't you think? That's I think that's a basic. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Some other matters. It sounds to me like a young American woman has just been abducted by Hezbollah terrorists in Baghdad. I actually recognize that traffic circle where they grabbed her. Her name is Shelley Kittleson. I've never heard of her, but she is now in custody of the kidnappers. American journalist Shelley Kittleson was kidnapped in central Baghdad by unidentified perpetrators. The kidnappers attacked a checkpoint near Mazib, causing their vehicle to overturn before being arrested. Kittleson was rescued and taken to the hospital for treatment. Okay, she's already gone. She's already free. That was quick. And I'm glad. Yes, Gail, what is it? Hello. Are you there? Well, never mind then. Anthony, line 2. Hello.
Yes, a house cannot stand without its foundation, and we need to come back to Jesus Christ. And I sent you a package. I hope you follow the instructions on it. I sent you a nice package with a bunch of gospel tracts.
What do I need from instructions?
Well, I shared some things with you, and I thank you for being kind to me every time I call in. And I shared some extra stuff.
All right, but do I have to follow the instructions? I'm not good at doing that, especially when it's in the mail.
Trying to restore America back to its foundation.
Well, that is a very, very, very worthy goal. I thank you for the package. I usually don't get stuff, to be honest. It all goes missing and it all goes topsy-turvy and weird. I'm sorry about that. I wish I saw it. Thank you for the thought, but generally speaking, yeah, it's tricky. Hey, you want to hear the guy who was ripping on me bad, calling me all kinds of horrible names and actually threatening me with death? His name is Clint somebody or other. Listen to this. He doesn't like what I say about Joe Kent. Joe Kent comes out against the president. Joe Kent quits in the middle of a war on terror, essentially, and doesn't expect any feedback. Well, I gave him some pretty blunt feedback. I think the guy's a jerk. Cut 12, please. Cut 12. I feel like this is against the law, what the guy said about me.
The very least we could do is cut out the personal. And if you retards want to see a phalanx of Spartans close ranks around a man, you're well on your way. Probably the question you should be asking yourself right now, do you think the disenfranchised young men of this country look up to us, the gangsters with a pile of bodies, or do you dildos in a suit?
So he says he's an original gangster, OG, and he's killed a lot of people in war, and therefore he should command respect, your respect. You should listen to him. What a barbarian. This is not how gentlemen speak. And I do believe that, being a gentleman is actually worthwhile, something that should be pursued. And he goes on like this. Cut 13.
And for you retards at home trying to figure out what the is going on and who's who in the zoo, all right? You can disagree with Joe's reasons for why he said that these last 3 conflicts were started. That's fine. I have your decades of analysis, experience, and access to classified information. The real question you should be asking yourself is, where's your moral compass? Is your moral compass Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham? Or is it the guys with enough medals from the last war to sink a battleship? And that's really the only question you need to ask.
That's the only question I need to ask. Who won the most medals in the last war? And follow that guy. One of these days we can talk about the medal game in the military. All right? And chief among them, the Bronze Star. Ooh, a Bronze Star winner. A Bronze Star. I've seen situations where an entire unit gets the Bronze Star. You apply, some of these guys, they apply for these medals. You put yourself in. You put your buddy in for a medal. It was the last thing I ever thought about. It was the last thing on my mind. And it's interesting. Not in my case, but sometimes the bravest guys get the least recognition. And the biggest schmucks get the most. Believe me, it happens. Be right back.
Next up, a laughing session from The Laughing Cow. Now, unpeel a wedge of The Laughing Cow light spreadable cheese, a delicious snack with 2 grams of protein and 25 calories per wedge.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, I'm not buying the headlines. Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. All right. Yes, I saw the Daily Mail headline and all the clickbait and the rest. I've listened to Bongino. I've talked to some other people, and I think it's bogus. All right. I think this thing is bogus. I think this is a desperate shot on the part of the defense team. And this guy is guilty as hell. I can't believe they got 600,000 documents to look through. 600,000 documents. How long would it take an ordinary person or even a great person, a great lawyer, to sift through 600,000 documents? It's impossible. Only the government can do that. I guess you can do word searches and that kind of thing. But if you do word searches, you could be missing something very, very, very important. It doesn't cut it. No, sir. No, sir. Let's see, a couple of odds and ends here. I am feeling, well, just remember this. When it comes to politics, the man is a prophet. The way President Trump nailed Curtis so long ago. Maybe you saw my segment last night called Fort Bragg, right? I am sick of all these veterans who have weaponized their service and use it to further someone else's political cause. All right? It's great if you served. It's great that the country, paid you and all that stuff, and you got benefits, and we need a military. We love our military. But when you start heading out there and saying, shut up, I served, you didn't, therefore I know what's best, we got a problem. And the guy who started this, really, the worst, was John Kerry. And he fulfilled his lifelong dream. It was a plan. And he set up a very bad situation. A lot of mimics out there. John Kerry, Democrat nominee in 2004 to run against George W. Bush. Remember that dopey convention and his crooked salute? Cut 6.
I'm John Kerry, and I'm reporting for duty.
Yeah. Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty. That's when people said, hey, wait a second. Serving in the military, I can use that in politics. I'm going to use that in politics. And he started the moment he got back from Vietnam. Kind of like somebody else I know who will remain nameless for the next 10 seconds because I saw him this morning and he still annoys me. Pete Hegseth, who got back from Afghanistan and declared for the U.S. Senate 2 days later. That freak. Anyway, John Kerry in 1971 with his long hair and his goofy, totally out of regulation uniform before the United States Senate back then. Wow. What? Oh, he's so handsome and well-spoken. Just listen to this man. We have to listen to him and obey him because he was there. Cut 7.
When we are more guilty than any other body of violations of those Geneva Conventions in the use of free fire zones, harassment interdiction fire, search and destroy missions, the bombings, the torture of prisoners, the killing of prisoners, accepted policy by many units in South Vietnam.
South Vietnam. And this son of a bitch comes back and says that we were committing war crimes. I almost think it should be almost off limits. You serve in the military, fantastic. It doesn't make you a strategist. In fact, it's the opposite of strategy. It's tactics. You guys worry about tactics, not strategy. For 99.9% of the people who work in the military, serve in the military, that's not their job. And those who actually do get to play strategy or work with strategy, since they spent most of their life working on tactics, they don't know how to do strategy. It's a sad fact of life. And then we get this Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan. These guys are heroes. Just ask them. Cut 11, please. Cut 11.
I think a lot of people have forgotten just exactly who the you are and what you've done for this country. Joe Kent, former director of National Counterterrorism Center, retired Green Beret, former member of a classified special missions unit, former CIA paramilitary officer, Gold Star spouse with 11 combat deployments, 6 Bronze Stars, author of Send Me, The True Story of a Mother at War, a tribute to Shannon's courage and a testament to what real service looks like. Trusted by President Trump as his foreign policy advisor, now being investigated by the FBI for leaking classified information.
Wow. How could that be? I'm glad he's being investigated. All that other stuff doesn't mean squat. It doesn't mean anything. I commit a crime. I don't say, well, in 2003, I was the first broadcast journalist. I flew over Iraq in 1998. I joined the military. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It doesn't make a difference. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. We have to go in a minute. Who's this on line 4? Toddy? Who's this? What's your name? Who? Say your name. Say it. Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
What's your name?
My name's Kathy.
Oh, it says Toddy here. Sorry about that. What's up?
That's okay. I just want to bring up, a couple of days ago you were talking about God and how he listens to everybody, and you mentioned that you said the word locomotive, and a couple of days later when you were playing with your kids.
The next day, that day I heard the kid turned me into a locomotive. Didn't say the word, but I was the locomotive. Right.
Well, I did. I listened to you and I thought of a word. It was Sphinx. And I swear, in 2 days, I'm a teacher, I was walking through the hallway, and there was a picture of a Sphinx on the bulletin board. So I wanted to tell you because it gave me such a great feeling. It's true. You know, like you always doubt things, but I did what you said, and it worked for me. So I just wanted to spread the word.
That's
and
amazing.
I want to thank you.
That's so wonderful. I love it. By the way, you know how you follow up with that? And I do too. And I'm reading the Psalms right now. And you got to read the word. You got to read. He wants us to do that. I believe he wants us to get into that book. All right. He wants to draw us closer. So take this moment and build on it. All right. The New Testament, the Old Testament, learn it. Let it become part of your heart. Sound good?
Yes, and I just want to say to everyone to hear that I love President Trump, and I love you guys. You guys are amazing.
All right. Thank you, Kathy, very, very much. What a story. I love that happened. I love it. Lou, are you there? Hello?
Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, Greg. I love your show. I mean, you're the sound of reason. I had read an article a few years ago that Taiwan chip manufacturers had booby-trapped their factories. In the event that China invaded, they would just blow them up so they didn't get the fruits of their manufacturing. Have you heard that?
Say it again. I don't quite frankly understand what you are getting at.
I read an article a few years ago that Taiwan has booby-trapped their chip manufacturing plants. And if China were to invade and take over, they would blow up the plants so that China would not reap any, rewards, financial rewards from chip manufacturers.
Huh. That's interesting. I wonder if they did that. I also wonder if you know that, and I know that, and we're talking about it on the radio. I bet China knows that. And if they do know that, I bet they have a plan to somehow disable the booby trap, But that's interesting. That is very interesting. Hey, Frank, I can't have you calling back 2 days in a row. Okay, Frank, you got that? You can't do that. Thank you, Lou. Frank, what are you doing here? All right, you're making me look like a jerk. What are you doing? You can't do it that often.
You know that.
You can't do it that often. All right, you can't do it that often. And I think this is the third day. You got to take a few days off. Hey, didn't you go on vacation somewhere?
Andorra.
Yeah, Andorra, which is a tiny, teeny little place. It's like smaller than West Hempstead, and it's between France and Spain. What the hell were you doing there?
I was skiing the Pyrenees Mountains with my son, and it was absolutely epic, Greg. You'd love it there. It's gorgeous.
Wow. All right. Well, that's fantastic. Good. I'm glad you're back, and you take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you in maybe a couple of weeks, okay? There's the music. I got to get the hell out of here. at Greg Kelly USA on X, on Instagram. And I'm sorry, I just feel terrible about this Kristi Noem husband situation. The nasty gossips out there. By the way, gossiping is a sin, too. You know that, right? I mean, it's also a bonding experience, but we really, should refrain when we can, all right? We know when it's wrong. We know when it's malicious.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?